Here's what no one tells you about the men who can't forget you. It's not because you're the most beautiful woman he's ever met. It's not because you said all the right things or played your cards perfectly. The women men become obsessed with, the ones they think about years later, the ones they compare everyone else to, they all do something most women never even realize they're doing. They press buttons inside his mind that he didn't know existed. Every man carries 4 emotional triggers buried so deep in his psychology that he can't see them himself. And when you activate them, not through games or manipulation, but through understanding, something shifts in him. He starts checking his phone, hoping it's you. He brings you up in conversations with his friends. He finds himself planning his week around the chance to see you. He catches himself staring at nothing, just replaying something you said, trying to figure out why he can't stop thinking about it. And here's the strangest part. He won't understand why. He'll tell himself it doesn't make sense. You might not even be his usual type. You might not fit what he thought he wanted. But once these switches flip inside him, once you've touched something deeper than attraction, he's hooked. You live in the back of his mind, rent-free, and the more he tries to logic his way out of it, the deeper in he gets. Now, before you think this sounds like some kind of trick or mind game, let me be clear. This isn't about pretending to be someone you're not. It's not about playing hard to get or withholding affection to keep him guessing. This is about understanding how men actually fall in love, not how we think they should. Because most relationship advice gets it backwards. It tells you to be more available, more accommodating, more perfect. But the truth is, men don't fall for perfect. They fall for specific. For the woman who aches them feel something they can't put into words, something they've never felt before and can't find anywhere else. And that feeling follows patterns, invisible ones that most people never learn because they're too busy counting hours between texts or wondering if they came on too strong. But when you understand these patterns, when you can see what's actually happening beneath the surface, you stop feeling confused. You stop second guessing yourself. You start to see that attraction isn't random luck, it's rhythm, it's chemistry meeting the right emotional frequency. And the first frequency, the one that makes everything else possible, is what I call the present-absent rhythm. Most women think being present means being available, always responding quickly, always making time, always showing up with a smile and enthusiasm. And those things are nice, but that's not what keeps a man thinking about you. Real presence is something entirely different. It's being completely there when you're with him and completely gone when you're not. Think about it this way. Every man is unconsciously asking 2 questions about you from the very beginning. First question, when she's with me, is she really with me? Or is she half somewhere else, checking her phone, thinking about other things, already planning what comes next? Second question, does she need me or does she want me? Is this moment happening because she has nothing better to do or because she genuinely chose to be here? Most women get one of these right but completely miss the other. Some women are always available. They cancel plans if he's free. They text back immediately. They rearrange their entire life around his schedule. And at first, he might like it. It feels easy, comfortable. But something happens over time. He stops thinking about you when you're not around. Because why would he? You're always going to be there. There's no mystery, no longing, no space for his mind to wander back to you on its own. Your presence becomes background noise. Nice to have, but not exciting, not something he craves. Then there are women on the opposite end. They're busy, independent, always doing something. But when they're finally with him, they're still half distracted, still checking messages, still bringing up other plans or other people, and he can feel it. He feels like he's competing for your attention even when he has it, like he's just another item on your to-do list. Neither of these works because both are missing half of what creates addiction in his mind. But when you understand how to be fully present in the moment and fully independent outside of it, everything changes. When you're with him, Your phone stays in your bag. Your attention doesn't drift. You're not thinking about what you need to do later or what someone else is doing. You ask him questions that go deeper than surface small talk. You notice things, the way his voice changes when he talks about something he cares about, the little expressions that cross his face. You make him feel like in this moment, right now, he's the most interesting person in your world. But when you're not together, you're not performing availability. You're not texting him constant updates about your day. You're not checking in every few hours to make sure he's still interested. You have your own life, your own plans, your own world that doesn't need him to make it complete. And he can feel that in your energy. This combination does something powerful to his brain. It creates what psychologists call intermittent reward, but in a natural, authentic way. You're not playing games. You're not calculating how long to wait before texting back. You're simply living a full life and allowing him to be part of it, not the center of it. When you're with him, it's intense, focused, real. When you're not, he feels your absence. Not because you're ignoring him, but because your presence actually meant something. It had weight. It wasn't just filler time. And that gap between your presence and absence, that space where he can't quite reach you, that's where his mind starts working. That's where he starts thinking about you, wondering what you're doing, replaying conversations, looking forward to the next time he gets to be in your orbit. Because here's what most women don't realize. Men don't chase what they already have. They chase what feels valuable. And value isn't created through constant availability. It's created through having something worth being available for. Your own interests, your own friendships, your own purpose. When you're not sitting around waiting for him to text, when you have genuine things filling your time that make you happy, he senses it. And it makes him want to earn his place in your life, not assume it. This is the present-absent rhythm. You're not distant or cold. You're not playing hard to get. You're simply showing up fully when you're there and living fully when you're not. That natural rhythm creates a pulse, a heartbeat in the connection that keeps him coming back. Not because you're unavailable, but because being with you feels different than being with anyone else. It feels like something he doesn't want to lose. And once that feeling starts, once he associates you with that rare combination of total presence and complete independence, you become unforgettable. You're not the girl who's always there. You're the girl he's always thinking about. That's the first button, the one that turns casual interest into constant thought. The second button is what I call emotional recognition. And this one might surprise you because it has nothing to do with how much you love him or how much you do for him. Here's the truth that most women never hear. Men don't stay with the woman who loves them most. They stay with the woman who sees them most clearly. There's a massive difference between caring about someone and actually understanding them. Most women pour energy into showing affection, compliments, support, doing things for him, being there when he needs help, and all of that matters, but none of it creates the deep attachment that makes him feel like he can't lose you. What creates that is when you see past his surface and understand what's actually happening inside him, the things he doesn't say out loud, the burdens he carries quietly, the parts of himself he's not sure anyone notices. Every man walks through life performing confidence even when he's uncertain, performing strength even when he's tired, performing like he has it all figured out even when he's completely lost. And most people buy the performance. They see the mask and think, that's who he is. But you, when you have this skill, you see through it. Not in a way that makes him feel exposed or judged, in a way that makes him feel understood. You notice the small things, the way his shoulders tense when someone brings up a certain topic, the shift in his voice when he's stressed but pretending he's fine, the moment his smile doesn't quite reach his eyes. And instead of pushing him to talk about it or demanding he open up, you simply acknowledge what you see. Small comments that show you're paying attention to more than his words. You seem tired today, long week. Not interrogating, just seeing. That got to you, didn't it? Not judging, just recognizing. These tiny moments of recognition reach men in places nothing else does, because most of us spend our entire lives feeling like we have to translate ourselves, like we have to explain what we're feeling, justify why we're feeling it, defend our internal experience. But when you can look at us and just know without us having to say a word, something inside us relaxes. It's the feeling of being understood without having to work for it, of being seen without having to perform. I'll give you an example. A friend of mine came home after a brutal day, nothing dramatic, just one of those days where everything felt heavier than it should. He didn't want to talk about it, didn't want to process it out loud. He just wanted to sit in silence until the weight lifted. His girlfriend at the time kept asking what was wrong, kept trying to fix it, kept pushing him to open up and share his feelings. And every question made him shut down more, not because he didn't appreciate her caring, but because it felt like pressure, like he was failing some test by not being emotionally available on command. A few months after that relationship ended, he met someone new. Same scenario happened. Bad day, came home heavy. But this woman did something different. She looked at him for a second, walked over and said, "Rough one? That's it?" Then she sat next to him and just existed there. No pressure, no interrogation, just quiet presence. And after about 10 minutes, he started talking. Not because she demanded it, but because she made it safe to. That moment created a bond that went deeper than any conversation they'd had before, because she understood something most women don't. Men don't open up when you ask them to. They open up when they feel safe to. And safety isn't created through questions. It's created through recognition, through showing him you see what he's not saying and you're not going to punish him for it. This is emotional recognition. It's the ability to read his unspoken language, to understand that when he goes quiet, he's not shutting you out. He's processing that when he needs space, he's not pulling away from you. He's trying to figure something out. That when he seems distant, it's not always about you. And instead of making his emotional patterns wrong, instead of requiring him to operate the way you do, you meet him where he is. You respect his rhythm. You give him room to be human without having to explain or justify every feeling. When you do this, when you see him clearly and accept what you see, he starts to trust you in a way he doesn't trust most people. You become the person he doesn't have to perform for. The one place he can let the mask slip without it being used against him. And once a man finds that with you, once he realizes you understand him without him having to constantly explain himself, he attaches to you on a level that goes beyond attraction. You become necessary, not in a needy way, in a you offer something I can't find anywhere else way, because most people in his life will care about him, but you'll be the one who actually gets him. That difference is everything. It transforms surface connection into deep attachment, the kind that doesn't fade when the excitement wears off, the kind that makes him think about you during random moments and realize how rare it is to feel this understood. That's the second button, the one that turns attraction into attachment. The third button is called freedom within commitment. And this is where most women accidentally push men away without realizing what they're doing. Here's what you need to understand. Men don't fear commitment itself. They fear what they think commitment means. They fear it means losing themselves, losing their independence, having to ask permission, being monitored and questioned and made to feel guilty for wanting time alone or time with friends. Most women, when they like a guy, start wanting more time together, more communication, more involvement in every part of his life. And it comes from a good place. It comes from wanting to build closeness. But to him, it often feels like walls closing in, like his freedom is being traded for your comfort. And the moment a man feels that, the moment he feels like being with you means giving up parts of himself, something inside him starts pulling back. Not because he doesn't care about you, because caring about you is starting to feel like losing himself. But when you understand this, when you create what I call freedom within commitment, you become the exception. You become the woman he wants to commit to, because being with you doesn't feel like sacrifice. It feels like choice. This means you don't panic when he needs a night with his friends. You don't make him feel guilty for wanting time alone. You don't require constant updates when you're not together. You trust him, not because you're naive, but because you're secure. And that security changes everything. Because when you give a man space without him having to fight for it, when you encourage his independence instead of seeing it as a threat, he doesn't feel trapped. He feels free. And paradoxically, that freedom makes him want to choose you more. I've watched this pattern repeat over and over. Women who try to hold tight end up pushing men away. Women who give space end up being chosen. It seems backwards, but it's not, because men value what they choose. And they can't choose you if they feel like they don't have a choice. Freedom within commitment also means maintaining your own life, your own interests, your own friendships, your own sense of self that exists independently of the relationship. When you do this, when you remain a whole person instead of dissolving into the relationship, he doesn't see you as clingy or needy. He sees you as an equal, as someone who's choosing to be with him from a place of desire, not desperation. And that makes all the difference, because men don't want to be needed in that suffocating way. We want to be wanted. We want to be chosen by someone who has other options, other things that make them happy, but chooses us anyway. That choice feels earned. It feels meaningful. It feels like something worth protecting. When you create freedom within commitment, when you make the relationship feel expansive instead of restrictive, you become associated with possibility, not limitation. He doesn't think of you as the person who took his freedom. He thinks of you as the person who made him feel more free. And once that association forms, once he realizes that being with you actually makes his life better, not smaller, he doesn't want to let that go. He becomes addicted not to you controlling him, but to the feeling of being fully committed and fully himself at the same time. That's the third button, the one that makes commitment feel like freedom instead of a cage. The fourth and final button is what I call the growth catalyst, and this is the one that determines whether attraction fades over time or deepens into something permanent. Here's something most people don't talk about. Men are terrified of becoming stagnant, of being the same person at 40 that they were at 30, of looking back and realizing they stopped growing. And the woman who can inspire growth without demanding it becomes irreplaceable. Notice I said inspire, not demand, because there's a huge difference. Most women try to change men through criticism, pointing out flaws, suggesting improvements, hinting at what he should be doing differently. And even when it comes from good intentions, even when you're right, it creates resistance. It makes him feel like he's not good enough as he is, like he's a project you're trying to fix. But the women who actually inspire men to grow do it completely differently. They don't focus on what's wrong. They notice what's right, and they celebrate it in a way that makes him want to be more of that. Small comments that show you see his potential. I love how you don't give up when something's hard. That's rare. The way you handled that situation was really mature. You're good at making people feel heard. I noticed that. These aren't empty compliments. They're specific observations that show you're paying attention to his character, not just his actions. And when you point out his strengths, when you reflect back the best parts of him, he starts to see himself through your eyes, and he wants to live up to that image. Not because you're pressuring him, but because you're showing him something he didn't fully see in himself. This is what it means to be a growth catalyst. You're not his mother, you're not his life coach, you're not trying to fix him or improve him, but your presence naturally raises the standard because you're growing yourself. You're reading, you're learning, you're working on your own goals, you're evolving, and that energy is contagious. When you're genuinely invested in becoming better, not for him, but for yourself, it creates a natural pull. He starts to think about his own growth, not because you told him to, but because your example makes standing still feel uncomfortable. You make him want to be the kind of man who matches your energy, who meets you at your level, who grows alongside you instead of staying where he is. This doesn't mean you're competing or keeping score. It means you're both committed to not being the same people you were last year, to pushing each other gently toward the best versions of yourselves. And when a man is with a woman who inspires that kind of growth, who makes him feel like he's constantly becoming better just by being around her, he doesn't want to lose that. Because plenty of women will accept him as he is. But you're the one who sees who he's becoming, who believes in his potential even when he doubts it, who reflects back his best self and makes him want to reach for it. That's the final button, the one that creates lasting addiction, not just to who you are now, but to who you both become together. So here's what this all comes down to. These 4 buttons, the present absent rhythm, emotional recognition, freedom within commitment, and the growth catalyst, they're not manipulation tactics. They're not mind games. They're the invisible architecture of deep human connection. They're what separates the women men date from the women men can't forget. And the beautiful thing is, you don't have to fake any of this. You don't have to pretend to be someone you're not. You just have to understand what actually creates attachment and then be brave enough to embody it. Be present when you're there and independent when you're not. See him clearly without demanding he explain himself. Give him freedom within commitment instead of making him feel trapped. Inspire his growth by focusing on your own. When these 4 elements align, when you naturally activate these psychological buttons through authentic awareness, something shifts. You stop worrying about whether he's going to text back. You stop analyzing every interaction. You stop performing because you understand that the right man doesn't need to be convinced or captured. He just needs to encounter the real you. The woman who's fully present but never desperate, who understands him without needing constant explanation, who makes commitment feel like freedom, who inspires him to grow. And when he encounters that, when those 4 buttons get pressed, not through strategy,